thank you, Mark, for that introduction. So, as he said, I'm an emergency medicine physician, and as such, I've had the pleasure and honor of taking care of patients all the way from birth to 105 years old. Some of that here in Naples, some in other places. And one of the things you get to do as an emergency medicine physician is you get to be a time traveler when it comes to generational vernacular. So this is a part of the show that's going to be a little bit of audience participation. I can't see hands, so we're going to need hooting and hollering, okay? So how many people out there have had the one that's come most recent into our societal consciousness of 6'7" said to them? Anyone? So I can hear by the collective groans that it might not be a positive thing for most of you. But what I would say is that let's keep in mind that every generation had these things. So this is the part where I want you to hoot and holler. If you went to grade school during these time periods and you said any of these things, you let us know. So 1960s, if someone was nerdy, they wanted to go to medical school. They were square. Did anybody say that back in the day? 1970s, you wanted somebody to agree with you, to understand with you. Can you dig it? Can you dig it, right? I'm most ashamed about these next ones because I'm an emergency medicine physician that grew up in the 80s, but rad, dude. And then this one, if anyone in here is guilty of saying no doy back in the day, I'd like for you to go ahead and hoot and holler at this time. You might want to dial back the criticism of the kids with the 6'7". That's a rotary phone reference for all of those who were born after 1983. So you get to the 1990s, if someone was really attractive, they were fat with a PH, right? And then you get to the 20-aughts, and we're saying things like make it rain if we wanted to live a lavish lifestyle. 20-teens, we had things that if you wanted to hear the gossip, someone needed to spill the tea, all right? Have you heard that one? And now we have 6'7" and slay, right? So let's remember that in our time when somebody created the no-doys of the 1980s, that kid had to move around the country, visit family members at Christmas or Thanksgiving for it to perpetuate across the country. Now it's instantaneous on TikTok, so we need to give them a little bit of leeway. But it's not just generationally or through time that I get to enjoy slang. It's also across the country. And one of the things here in Naples that I realized early on is if I met someone from the Midwest and I was doing my social history, and I said the words, "Do you drink alcohol?" the 9 out of 10 time answers will be, "Oh yeah," as if I should expect them to turn into a giant red pitcher of Kool-Aid and bust through the wall into the next patient's room. And that's not to say that folks in other parts of the country don't drink volumes of alcohol that are as large, but it seems to be if you're from the Midwest, that one comes out the most. So when you think about these types of things, and we think about generationally and regionally, it gets me thinking about the future of medicine. And many of you probably heard this week, Elon Musk said that in the future, 10 years, 15 years, we're going to have robots that are as proficient as the most proficient surgeons in America. And we have AI that is now making decisions on which radiographic studies to read first, or taking histories for us in the room. And it made me very trepidatious and anxious this weekend thinking about what does the future of medicine look like if robots can do the procedural things that I trained to do, tens, 20s, thousands of hours when I was in medical school and residency, and what does that mean for my career? But then the more I thought about it, I said, hey, I'm an emergency medicine physician, and I don't irregularly perform stool disimpactions in the emergency department, and I use irregularly, pun intended. And so after a bit of thought, I will be ecstatic when NCH purchases the first Dookie-tron 3000 and takes care of that problem. All right, one more story before the first steak choke of the night comes out and yanks me off the stage. And it would be the only one. Everyone's great tonight. So, generationally, I talked about vernacular, and I want to tell a story about a patient that will remain nameless, but it's an octogenarian that I saw many years ago. And I do my histories pretty similarly. So I do HBI portion, tell me how we can help you today, get a story, then I go through their medications, I get their medication history. And this particular patient was giving me their medication history. It was written down all in the notebook, and she had many medications. And she was very deliberate. And you could tell as she got to the end of the list, she was still thinking, but she hadn't transitioned to the next thought. So I went right into the social history. I said, do you smoke cigarettes? No. Do you drink alcohol? She wasn't from the Midwest, so she said no. And then I said, as I say to most of my patients, do you do any street drugs? And she, without hesitating, said, you know what, I do a line every day. My jaw hit the floor. I said, I've been asking this question thousands of times to every octogenarian and nonagenarian that I've met, and I've never gotten a yes answer. Today I have found the one cocaine-using octogenarian in America that is presented in the emergency department. This is why I do social histories. And I said, man,
you mean to tell me you do a line of cocaine every day? And she goes, goodness, no, I take the probiotic Align, A-L-I-N, every day. And with that, I thank you.